Hi, everybody. Ron again. So, I'm going to talk about consequentialism and specifically after, watching the videos. One of the videos from The Good Place, one that I thought was funny, there was actually two parts of it. One where he talks about two people that bought their grandma roses for their grandma's birthday, and how one of them handpicked them and then walked them over to his grandma's house, and he got all these points. But then how the other guy didn't get any points because he actually lost points because he ordered them off a cell phone that was made in a sweatshop from a farm that used migrant workers and all this other stuff that just was absolutely insane. When in reality, the choice that he was making was to buy his grandmother roses. And then later it talks about the tomato and how that's just a conscious decision. And the judge saying, like, well, he buying the tomato was a choice. He could have done the research, could have bought a better tomato. And I think that's all pretty funny. In the book, it talks about rushing into a burning building and how if you rush into a burning building, are you doing it because that's just what the right thing is to do, or are you doing it because you want to have the honor and the valor of being the person that did it? What if the person who you run in to save from the burning building grows up to be somebody terrible? And I thought that was really interesting, and it got me kind of going down sort of a rabbit hole because it's something that I personally do in my personal life. I try and do research to buy certain sustained products, as you can kind of see in my background of my particular setting today. All those picture frames and everything there, that's all stuff that I personally made out of like recycled material. And I do it for fun, and I don't do it necessarily to lower my carbon footprint, but it is something that I just do consciously, and that is something that's on the back of my mind. However, was the wood ethically sourced when it was originally made? When I put those together, did I use nails that came from a proper source as well? Could I have accidentally, in building any of these frames, supported something that is really awful and bad? And I think that's kind of where consequentialism gets sort of murky and where you can really dive down into that one. Uh, and interestingly enough, in a different class that I took a couple years ago, we talked a little bit about consequentialism, and it talked about I can't remember which president it was, but anyway, the story goes one of our past presidents was fighting in World War I, and he's sitting there in a trench, and he's sitting behind his rifle, and out in the field he sees this kind of sad, defeated looking German soldier walk up, and he puts him in his sights, and he's thinking to himself he's going to shoot this German soldier because that's what he's supposed to do. But there was a piece of him that felt like he couldn't do it. He didn't have a weapon, he was unarmed, so he just kind of lowered his rifle and looked both ways to make sure that no one would see him, and he nodded his head, basically telling that German soldier to go away. Well, years later, it comes out through some writings that that particular German soldier that he let live was Adolf Hitler. And that if he would have shot that kind of sad, pathetic German soldier, even though in that case it would have been wrong in the moment because he was unarmed and he didn't feel right about it, he could have potentially saved millions of lives. And that's kind of where consequentialism, I feel like, is sort of a murky way to look at things, and it is good if you can take it objectively as like with the lying to save somebody's life kind of aspects of it. But if you dig into it way too deep into the tomato paradox, then you'll drive yourself insane. So anyway, thank you guys. Can't wait to see what you guys have to say about it. Bye.